My next guest is a curator for the Denver Art Museum. Her current exhibit, Rhythm and Roots, Dance in American Art, explores the influences, evolution, and distinct traditions of dance in America. Please welcome Angelica Daneo. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. So I mentioned a little bit, Rhythm and Roots is a current exhibit at the Denver Art Museum, and that's your exhibit, I understand, right?
Yes, it was organized by the Detroit Institute of Arts,
Okay.
but Denver is the second venue.
Okay. Will you talk a little bit about what the exhibit is?
Yes, the exhibition Rhythm and Roots really explores two great art forms, dance and the visual arts.
Okay.
And in particular, look at the way American artists approached the subject of dance from the early 1800s to about 1960.
So talk a little bit about how has American art looked at dance in that time period?
Well, it's interesting because if you enter the exhibition, there's 4 major sections.
Okay.
I think our visitor will notice that initially these two art forms ran parallel. So the American artists tend to record subject of dance, spontaneous movements that they witness. But as we progress into the 20th century, these two art forms begin to converge, so to speak. And there's increasing cross-inspiration and increasing creative collaboration among dancers or choreographers and American artists.
Very cool. So talk about some of the pieces in this exhibit.
Well, we have wonderful works of art, and if you see the time range, it really allows you to appreciate not just painting and sculpture, but also costumes and drawings and photography and installation. The exhibition actually culminates with participatory work by Andy Warhol. But some of the works that you'll see, for instance, are one of the greatest masterpieces of American genre art, which is the Jolie Flatboat Men by Bingham. This is right sort of at the beginning. But then also works by an artist belonging to the Harlem Renaissance called Johnson. And this is one work that he did when he came back from Paris and relocated near Harlem. And then a wonderful gallery they like to call the Girl Power Gallery because it features wonderful female dance personalities of the early 20th century, like La Carmencita, painted in this case by Sargent. And then wonderful costumes, for instance, one that was worn by Anna Pavlova, a great dancer of the 20th century, as well as a sculpture/costume by Isamu Noguchi, made for Martha Graham.
So this is more than just paintings, this is any art form.
Very much so.
Yeah. So we talked about the rhythm and all the dances. Will you explain, where's the roots come in? How does the dance relate to the roots?
Well, the roots in the title is really addressed in the first section of the exhibition, where we look at the works produced in the early 19th century. And this is a time where different influences contribute to create something that you can consider quintessentially American dance. You know, for instance, ballet was a European tradition that came to America, but there are steps and movements that really became really known as American in the early 20th century. Even some that were developed at the Savoy Ballroom, for instance, like the jitterbugs or Lindy Hop, that certainly you couldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah. Talk a little about how did you personally get involved with this exhibit? What's maybe a little bit of your background?
Well, in this case, because this exhibition was organized by Detroit, I received this project as a local curator. So I am in charge of taking a checklist that was prepared by another institution. And with our team at the Denver Art Museum, we worked together to create a display that it's really for our audience in Denver and Colorado, and that sort of follows our style of displaying exhibitions. Unlike, for instance, when I build my own exhibition with our team and create our own exhibition in town.
How did you become a curator for the Denver Art Museum? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I always loved art. That's a good thing, prerequisite.
You have to like art before you work at an art museum.
That's a prerequisite.
Okay.
And then I grew up in Italy and had the fortune of working in the United States at the St. Louis Art Museum. And there I was in contact with staff at the Denver Art Museum, and I was offered this job, and I moved to Denver and loved it. And 12 years later, I'm still here.
Oh, wow, awesome. And you prepared a couple pieces for us to view and talk about. So do you want to go over those?
Sure.
Okay, what's the first one we want to look at? We can put up on the screen.
Well, yeah, it'd be great. because I'm not sure the order, but probably the first one will be Bingham, the Jolly Flatboat Men.
Okay, the Jolly Flatboat Man.
Exactly. Bingham was fascinated with pioneer culture and in particular the experience of the workmen on the Missouri and Mississippi River. So what is showing here is this spontaneous dance, probably at the end of our work day, men dancing outdoors, which is something at the time in the 19th century really you only see depictions of men dancing outdoors because it was still very much considered inappropriate for a woman to have to dance outdoors. She certainly could dance indoors, but this was very much the outdoor was a territory for men, as you can see in this wonderful work.
Yeah, awesome. We're running a little short on time, so maybe just one more.
Yeah.
Do you pick real quickly?
Suspense. Oh, do I pick it?
Yeah, pick. Which one do you want to show us?
La Carmencita by Sargent.
Okay.
She has this wonderful personality, and Sargent decides here to depict her in this very monumental pose. There's going to be another work in the show, also a portrait of Carmencita by a great American artist, Chase, and he instead depicts her dancing. So it's interesting to juxtapose the two and see the different artist perspective on it.
Yeah, I love that pose. That's very strong. It's that girl power you were talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome.